Okay, thank you. I'm truly humbled to be in the company of my family, my friends, and my colleagues this evening. You've challenged me to reflect on the past 8 years since I graduated from UCAP. And as you heard Richard say, I think of leading and learning as inseparable. Because leading a school is much like leading a class. It involves the same challenges: thinking critically, seeing situations in new ways, being able to make mistakes, knowing yourself, and being passionate about the work that you do. And leadership development is a personal journey aimed at becoming an authentic leader whom others will follow. And for years, researchers have worked to answer the question, can leadership be packaged and taught rather than accumulated by experience? And of course, there's the theory and the knowledge and the specific skills and techniques that certainly can be taught and modeled and mentored. But as I reflected in preparation for what I wanted to share with you tonight, I realized what I've accumulated through my experiences, both personal and professional, is the deep understanding of the impact of social and emotional intelligence and how it plays out in leadership. Competencies like self-awareness, self-management, empathy, and relationship skills. And to truly maximize the success of the organization, the most effective leaders manage relationships and identify and monitor emotions both in themselves and others. So a protocol that I use with teachers when I'm trying to engage them in the change process, and I'm sure many of you have done the same, is this idea of I used to think and now I think. So I'm going to use this as I frame my evolving lens about leadership. So I used to think that leaders had all the answers, that they were just so smart. And now I think the most effective leaders don't have to have all the answers, but rather the ability to ask the right questions, challenge colleagues to think and reflect, empower them to make decisions and think outside the box. And really, effective listening takes much more than effective speaking. We don't have to have all the answers, but we must lead with a learning orientation, urgency, and clarity, and build the capacity of those around us by working alongside them. I used to think that effective leaders shift from the balcony to the dance floor, and I really like the dance floor, but I realized you have to schedule time on the dance floor, listening and learning, observing the moves of the instructional core, teachers, students, and content in real time. You only learn how to lead the work by working on the work. It's our job to connect the dance floor and the balcony in coherent and simplex ways. Without clarity of vision, others get lost in viewing the work as disconnected initiatives rather than focused improvement. I used to think that I was so fortunate to be surrounded by talented educators and highly gifted school leaders who modeled, mentored, and inspired me and encouraged me. And now I think I am still very fortunate, but you can't leave that up to luck. Rather, you have to consciously surround yourself by colleagues who believe in the work and your shared core beliefs. You have to cancel out the noise, the negative noise, the people or the information that distract us from our positive reality. Because it's that positive outlook or mindset that gives us the greatest precursor of success, performance, and even happiness. It's what lets you see opportunity instead of obstacles, new roads instead of dead ends, paths to success instead of failure. It's not that we don't see the negative in the world, it's that we also see the hidden beauty to do something about it. I used to think that there was something called work-life balance. I knew I'd get you on that one. And that the best leaders could do it all. And I'd carefully watch others, wondering if I could pick up a trick or two, or I'd read books on women in leadership and women, family, and all these things. I still read them sometimes. And now I realize that the best way to make room for both life and career is to make choices deliberately, set limits, and stick to them. Make decisions about what you will and will not do, and what you will and will not sacrifice. And I have a better understanding that it's okay to have stress. It just has to be meaningful stress, and you have to make it work for you. I also understand that the balance shifts at different points in your life. I used to think that it was our job to take very good care of others, teachers, students, your family, your friends, your siblings, your staff, at times sacrificing yourself. And that to be a successful leader, you have to stay up really late, which I can never do. You have to answer emails all weekend long, and you always remind others of just how busy you are and how much work you have to do. And now I think successful leaders take very good care of themselves too, consciously doing things that improve our mood and raise our happiness. And for me, that means squeezing in a workout, even if it's playing tag in the backyard with my 3- and 5-year-old, getting some fresh air, trying to cook a healthy meal at 5 a.m., blaring the 90s on 9 on my way to work just to get me in the groove, or baking a batch of brownies for my Westwoods family every Wednesday. They're the simple acts that allow me to recharge and reset. And I've also learned that good leaders find ways to work smarter, and that you earn the respect and the confidence of others by modeling a calm, even approach. I used to think that leaders, especially young females, I don't feel young anymore, should leave their emotions at home. And now I think that sharing emotions builds deeper relationships. Over time, I've become a true believer of bringing your whole self to work. Leaders who are afraid to show emotions are blind to how this can affect the levels of trust, engagement, and effective decision-making. Emotion drives both men and women and influences every decision that we make. Motivation comes from working on things we care about with people we care about. I used to think that recognition and celebrations didn't need to be a priority in high-performing organizations, and that having fun might look like we weren't working hard enough or we weren't serious enough. And now I think that celebration, recognition, encouragement, and appreciation are vital to an organization. People want to be noticed for their good work and their milestones both in and out of school. And when the recognition is specific and deliberately delivered, it's even more motivated than money. And you know, we don't have a lot of that to give out. And it's our role and responsibility to send those ripples of positivity throughout the school community, because ultimately, it's the collective happiness that gives our organization the competitive edge. I used to think that children were our best teachers, and honestly, I still do. But in my early days as administrator, I was learning through student data and observation only. And now I think that inviting students to the table to hear their voices and choices is essential to the school improvement process. 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, the tweens that I work with, have a view of the classroom and student engagement that's priceless. As leaders, we can't create student-centered learning environments that support the growth of individuals without implementing strategies that regularly engage them in the process. I used to think that UConn was the top dog. Back in the late 90s, I'm one of 3 girls, so I was the one who would go to the basketball games with my dad at the then booming Hartford Civic Center. And I loved Chris Smith, and I would take stats, and I was kind of his right-hand woman. And that was kind of my first taste. And then years later, when it was time to apply to colleges, I did the typical college planning tour with my mom, and we visited schools, and I met with my school counselor and politely nodded as she told me, now these are going to be your reach schools, and these are your safety schools, and I knew exactly where I wanted to be, and I knew exactly what I wanted to be. So I confidently only applied to UConn, with my goal of being accepted into the elite Neag IBM program. And now I think UConn is still the top dog. I may not have known it at the time, but we graduated from the School of Education with the capacity to lead. Through the careful design of the integrated program, a balance of theory and practice, with a focus on diversified internship experiences, suburban, urban, rural, high school, special education, bilingual, elementary, we developed a wider perspective, a vision of education that surpassed the other aspiring teachers from neighboring colleges and universities. And it was through those diverse experiences that I also quickly observed the setting didn't matter, the size of the school didn't matter, the level didn't matter, the people mattered. I learned just as much about the type of teacher and leader that I wanted to be as I did about the one I did not want to be. My UCAP internship experiences and cohort learning further supported my belief that relationships matter. Our cohort, the West, I want to say we were 17, but might not be, was a community of learners where each member brought a unique perspective in their own experiences to our collective leadership development. We were like a family, taking really good care of each other, and a culture of trust and support. We were able to have honest conversations about teaching, learning, and leading. And that cohort experience modeled for us the power of professional collaboration and shared accountability. I used to think that first you were successful, and then happiness follows. And now I think happiness is the center, and success revolves around it. When we're happier, when our mindset and mood are positive, we're smarter, more motivated, and thus more successful. Happiness implies a positive mood in the present and a positive outlook for the future. As leaders, we have the awesome opportunity and responsibility to create a culture of happiness within our organization. Leading with a positive mindset helps us see greater range of opportunities, solutions, and routes to success. It can help others, our colleagues, our teams, our families, do so as well. And remember, happiness is not just a mood, it's a work ethic that must be applied when tackling complex challenges, the ones we face today, transforming learning and ensuring that Connecticut's children receive the best education possible. So in closing, we must remind each other that it's okay to ask the questions, listen closely, take good care of yourself, find ways to rest and recharge, bring your whole self to work, set limits and stick to them, cancel the noise, celebrate, recognize, and appreciate, increase opportunities for student voice and choice, and as someone once did for each of us, bring another chair to the leadership table. Thank you.